เราอยู่ในโลกที่เทคโนโลยีเข้ามามีบทบาทกับทุกวันของชีวิตทั้งเรื่องเที่ยวเรื่องกินเรื่องเล่นไม่เว้นแต่การทำงานความไฮเทคจาก AI และ IoT และสารพัดเทคโนโลยีช่วยทำให้ชีวิตง่ายขึ้นภาคการผลิตและอุตสาหกรรมก็เช่นกันเรามีเครื่องจักรไฮเทคสารพัดที่ช่วยให้คุณทำธุรกิจได้ง่ายยิ่งขึ้นทั้งเครื่องปอกคัดสับหั่นช่วยเตรียมวัตถุดิบให้พร้อมได้ภายในพริบตาบดนวดผสมเคลื่อนย้ายตรวจสอบคุณภาพแพ็คบรรจุรักษาอุณหภูมิจนส่งถึงมือผู้บริโภคอย่างปลอดภัยและยังมีสารพัดเทคโนโลยีที่เป็นโซลูชันให้เส้นทางธุรกิจของคุณดีขึ้นกว่าเดิม 1. นอกจากเครื่องจักรยุคใหม่จะฉายไลด้วยประสิทธิภาพที่เหนือกว่าแล้วส่วนใหญ่มักจะมีระบบ Automations แจ้งปัญหาการใช้งานตรวจสอบและซ่อมบำรุงตัวเองได้ 2. จากที่เคยต้องตรวจสอบคุณภาพทีละชิ้นก็เปลี่ยนมาตรวจสอบด้วยวิธีสุดล้ำจากเซ็นเซอร์อัจฉริยะภายในพริบตาเดียว 3. เครื่องจักรและเทคโนโลยีจะทำให้คุณใช้คนได้คุ้มกว่าที่เคยเพราะสามารถทดแทนในจุดที่มีความเสี่ยงที่จะเกิดอันตราย 4. พาสินค้าของคุณไปได้ไกลขึ้นด้วยเทคโนโลยีบรรจุภัณฑ์แห่งอนาคตที่ช่วยรักษาอุณหภูมิลดแบคทีเรียลดกลิ่นกันกระแทกรวมถึงการจัดการด้วยระบบ Labeling และเทคโนโลยีบาร์โค้ดที่แม่นยำ 5. ช่วยเพิ่มกำลังการผลิตเมื่อผลิตได้มากก็ทำให้ธุรกิจเติบโตได้มากกว่าที่เคยมาพบเทคโนโลยีและนวัตกรรมการผลิตแปรรูปและบรรจุภัณฑ์สุดล้ำได้ที่ ProPak เอเชีย 2021 และห้ามพลาด Virtual Event ที่รวบรวมผู้ประกอบการในอุตสาหกรรมการผลิตแปรรูปและบรรจุภัณฑ์จาก 15 ประเทศทั่วโลกและสัมมนาหลากหลายหัวข้อจากผู้เชี่ยวชาญชั้นนำผ่าน www.propakasia.com/ve 9-23 มิถุนายนนี้
สวัสดีท่านผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทุกท่านนะคะดิฉันทิติมาศรีอุทารวงศ์ค่ะขอต้อนรับทุกท่านนะคะเข้าสู่การสัมมนาออนไลน์ของบริษัท Mitsubishi Gas Chemical Singapore นะคะในหัวข้อ MGC Advanced Packaging Technology to Extend Shelf Life Maintain Quality and Improve Sustainability นะคะร่วมจัดโดย ProPak Asia Informa Markets และบริษัท Mitsubishi Gas Chemical Singapore นะคะและในวันนี้ค่ะบริษัท Mitsubishi Gas Chemical Singapore นะคะจะมาให้ความรู้และแบ่งปันเรื่องราวเกี่ยวกับวิธีที่เราจะสามารถช่วยลดการใช้พลาสติกในบรรจุภัณฑ์นะคะและยังช่วยลดการปล่อยแก๊สคาร์บอนไดออกไซด์รวมไปถึงการยืดอายุการใช้งานของผลิตภัณฑ์ที่ยังคงคุณภาพและเป็นมิตรต่อสิ่งแวดล้อมนะคะในระหว่างการสัมมนานะคะเราจะมีโพลให้ท่านได้ร่วมกิจกรรมด้วยนะคะและหากท่านใดมีคำถามค่ะท่านสามารถพิมพ์คำถามในช่อง Q&A ด้านล่างได้เลยนะคะตอนช่วงท้ายรายการท่านวิทยากรจะมาตอบคำถามของเราค่ะ Good afternoon ladies and gentlemen thank you for joining our webinar hosting by Mitsubishi Gas Chemical Singapore and ProPak Asia.My name is Titima, MC for today. We are pleased to welcome you to our webinar in topic of MGC Advanced Packaging Technology to Extend Shelf Life, Maintain Quality and Improve Sustainability. During the session, you can leave your question in Q&A box and the speaker will answer after the presentation.และเพื่อไม่ให้เป็นการเสียเวลานะคะดิฉันขอกล่าวต้อนรับผู้ดำเนินรายการของสัมมนาในวันนี้ค่ะ May I invite Mr. Albert Lim, Senior Manager of Mitsubishi Gas Chemical Singapore, moderator of this webinar today to provide you with an overview of the session. Welcome, Mr. Albert Lim.
Thank you, Kun Titima, and I want to thank all the attendees for spending your time with us this afternoon. I hope that you will have a rewarding time with us and gain some information on MGC's products that will enable food shelf life, beverage shelf life extension, as well as to extend also the geographic coverage of the products that you can sell and make. And lastly, of course, this is actually the first time via an online event where MGC will be sharing with you our understanding of how our organization will want to tackle the issue of sustainability. Let us begin the presentation by me giving you an overview of our organization and our groups. And I will pass over to Ryan, who will share with you the details of the technical aspects of a few of our products involved in high value barrier packaging, passive solutions. And finally, we will go into the Q&A session. Please kindly note that there will be a poll run at the last slide where our contact details are given. We hope that you can respond to the polls so that we can see if you need our support post-event. And during the Q&A, we also hope that a lot of the attendees can stay with us because I believe most of the information sharing that has been beneficial to the attendees will come from your questions and our responses to those questions. So without further ado, let us begin our information sharing. And once again, I thank you for your participation and your time. So today's event, MGC will share with you in particular 3 of our products. One product is our MX nylon material. We will actually show you the technical benefits towards reduction in plastics usage, extension of shelf life, capabilities to endow manufacturers to adopt these technologies to have smaller packaging sizes and sell further, followed by some newer products from us that are able to further increase the barrier properties of products via coatings, as well as some new specialty polyesters that we have come up with that will provide clear and also higher barrier, higher temperature resistance polyesters. So let me give an introduction to our organization first. So Mitsubishi Gas Chemical is part of the Mitsubishi Group. There are 3 main chemical companies in the group. And the one where the feedstock comes from natural gas, this is where we come from, Mitsubishi Gas Chemicals. And in our organization, we are actually, our production capabilities and our R&D capabilities are spread globally. And it is not mentioned here, but in Thailand, Mitsubishi Gas Chemicals have many plants. We have plants producing engineering plastics in joint cooperation with TOA or DERVChem. We are also involved in the manufacturing of active oxygen scavenging sachets called ageless with our factories in Thailand as well. We are also involved in the PCB as well as the semicon business, chemicals business in Thailand with our factories in Thailand as well. For our organization, we are split. Basically now, there was a restructuring done last year. Now we are split into 2 business units. One business unit is basic chemicals. And within that, most of the products that we're sharing today that's related to packaging comes from basic chemicals, high performance products division. So, and the other BU that we have in our organization is actually the specialty chemicals group. And within that group, I think most of the products that you see here are actually existent in Thailand. That means we actually have plants in Thailand, right? Be it the engineering plastics or be it the electronics materials or be it the oxygen absorbers, we actually have plants in Thailand. And just for your information, MGC is actually a renowned specialty chemicals company. So we have very niche products where we have our own IP, and we are still leading in a lot of the products that we make from bulk to specialty. And our company mission is very simple, to creating value to share with society. So we hope to actually provide high value, high tech products using chemistry that will help society. And today is the first time that MGC will also share how we respond to the requirements of sustainability on MGC's own understanding, as well as the partners in the industry. I hope that will be beneficial to a lot of the attendees today. We have a lot, which we actually got a lot of questions with regards to sustainability questions. So we hope those broad information that we're going to share will be able to enlighten or shed some light on how MGC feels the approach may be. So without further ado, I will pass the time over to Ryan to share the further detailed information on our technical products. Thank you so much. Ryan, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Albert. Thank you for the introduction for MGC, Mitsubishi Gas Chemical. So today, just before I go into the details for today, I would just like to remind the attendees that please feel free to send any questions through the Q&A box again. We will try our best to answer all the questions. If we are unable to answer the questions now, we will get back to you after the webinar to try to answer the various questions that you have posed. Thank you very much. And now let us go into the details of our webinar today. So today we will be covering a few topics. We will look at whether plastic packaging is really the troublemaker that the world has placed or shown them as. Next, we will consider if we can truly be plastic packaging free. And then the next three items will be how we will go into how MX Nylon can help in reducing the usage of plastic. Finally, we will look at what is Altesta and what is Maxis. So first, is plastic packaging really the friend? Is plastic packaging a friend or a foe? In the current world that we are living in, food can either be packed in a packaging or unpacked or just as it is. It may be possible to find raw food that has no packaging, but has anyone found any cooked food or beverage that is not packed? Generally, food that has no packaging tends to have shorter shelf life, and packaging does not only enable shelf life extension, it also allows transportation. Imagine having to use leaf in the olden days to hold water so that you can just to have a drink. Furthermore, in the current COVID situation, having a packaging also helps to ensure the unwanted pathogens, such as viruses or bacteria, are not found on the surface of the food, where in this current situation, everyone is panicking and worried about this. Every packaging will have its strengths and weaknesses, and the strength of plastic packaging is that it is lightweight, clear, and safe. Plastic packaging also enables the sealing of food packaging, keeping its quality, taste, color, and the safety. So, if there is one thing that I hope you will take away from this webinar, I hope that you can remember that plastic packaging is a friend in our life and not a problem. Therefore, the advanced packaging solution from MGC works on these three fundamentals: increasing the shelf life of the product, which will reduce food loss and food waste. Using a higher barrier material will enable you to reduce the amount of plastic used, thereby reducing the amount of plastic waste generated. And finally, reducing carbon dioxide emission by using less plastic or lighter packaging so as to be more efficient in the transportation. Next, just now we have looked at what the plastics is able to provide. Is it a friend or a foe? Now we will look at the amount of greenhouse gas emission for each product that we produce, because food that we produce has to go through a certain supply chain. So we have heard many a times where plastic is the biggest cause for global warming because they have come from the mining of petroleum. However, let us take a look at some of the greenhouse gas emission data we found from scientific online publication called Our World in Data. They mainly focus on large global problems. In this chart, the greenhouse gas emission is color-coded, so we can see green for land use change, brown for farm, orange for animal feed, blue for processing, and finally packaging in gray. So if we look generally through the entire list, which you can also try to Google for it, you'll notice that In actual fact, when we look at farming, the farming process actually creates more greenhouse gas, either as methane or as carbon dioxide, as compared to all the various packaging that is in gray. Of course, under the packaging, we have other materials such as glass and aluminum, which may portray different amount of greenhouse gas. But as a whole, these values are still much lower as compared to the other processes. Furthermore, all this packaging acts as a solution to increase shelf life, value, and even the safety of product, thus making it more environmentally friendly. Next, let us look at how MX Nylon is able to enable all these different ideas. So as I've mentioned earlier, our advanced packaging solution works on the fundamentals on ensuring product security by reducing food waste and food loss through shelf life increment and reducing carbon emission. Furthermore, with the growing interest in various food processing sterilization methods, we will look at how all these different materials such as gas barrier polyamide resin MX Nylon, gas barrier adhesive resin Maxis, heat resistant polyester resin L-Testa will be able to enable the different packaging to be able to go through such processes, thereby enabling higher value product. So without further ado, we will start with the first product, gas barrier polyamide resin MX Nylon. So what is MX Nylon? MX Nylon is MGC's innovative barrier packaging material, which provides excellent barrier properties. It has also compatible processing range with other resins, which I will share at the later details. However, other properties such as high tensile, high flexural strength allowed it for certain films application, and finally, excellent chemical properties enable the usage of non-food applications as well. So one of the most common misconceptions up until today is that moisture is the main cause of food spoilages. However, if we study deeper, we will realize that oxygen is the actual troublemaker where food turns color. Bacteria growing on the food surface or mold causing spoilages. We have not included olefin packaging because oxygen barrier properties of olefin packaging is close to zero. Here, we see other common materials such as PET, nylon 6, and MX Nylon in comparison. Oxygen permeability means how much oxygen will pass through the packaging and is usually affected by plastic packaging, plastic type, thickness of film, and the size of the film. You will notice that oriented PET film has about 7 cc per meter square per day of oxygen permeability as compared to oriented nylon 6. Some people will know it as PA6. So all these films has oxygen barrier of much higher than polyolefin, and OPA, oriented polyamide 6 films have oxygen permeability of 0.7 cc per meter square per day. Whereas compared to MX Nylon, which has an oxygen permeability of only about 0.06 cc per meter square per day. So what does all this value mean? Assuming that the thickness of the films are all the same, oxygen concentration of 10 cc is required for the food to start to turn bad. It will take about 2 days, mathematically speaking, for the food to turn bad for food packaging in PET. But when packed in OPA, it will take about 10 days. And when packed in MX Nylon, it will take more than 3 weeks. These, however, are all estimates, and customer will need to perform some tests on their actual product because different food products have different formulation and is prepared differently and go through different processes. So some of the suitable, in my earlier presentation, I have mentioned that MX Nylon has a wide processing range that is suitable with various materials. As you can see, MX Nylon is able to process with other materials such as PET, PA6 or PA66, and even with polyolefins. So this is the range that MX Nylon is able to work in. So you'll notice that this is all very high. These are all the temperatures that are above 240. So moving on, we will now discuss on some of the applications of MX Nylon so that it will be easier for everyone to understand how our product can use instead of just sharing you the technical data. The goal of using MX Nylon is again to reduce food loss and food waste, reduce plastic waste, and reduce carbon dioxide emission through the improvement and making efficient during transportation. Let us first talk about the first application, PET. For PET bottles, it has been used as a blend solution or a multi-layer solution globally. The properties of the bottles when using different technologies are slightly different, but in both solutions and the goal of this solution, MX Nylon is able to extend shelf life by improving gas barrier. In the case of carbonated soft drinks, more commonly known as CSD, it is able to slow down the GV loss. In the case of teas, it is able to slow down the amount of oxygen entering. In blend technology, we have found that the shelf life can be extended by 1.8 times in our test and 2.4 times in a multi-layer solution. The advantage of multi-layer technology allows the bottles to be transparent. Furthermore, MX Nylon is also compatible to the design guidelines of bottle-to-bottle recycling in Japan, Europe, and US. It was also found that using MX Nylon in green tea, we were able to reduce the color change in green tea as compared to PET as shown. This is because green tea contains polyphenol, which is sensitive to oxidation. When tea is brewed, polyphenol is released. When these polyphenols are exposed to oxygen, their color darkens. Taste will also change, but color is more obvious because as a consumer, we can see the product before we can taste the product. So it is a common idea for PET bottles to go towards lightweighting bottles so as to be more sustainable. However, when chasing after lightweighting bottles, product shelf life usually decreases as a result of lightweighting, which causes the wall thickness to reduce. However, we can increase the product shelf life by using MX Nylon. Therefore, we can lightweight the bottle, in this example, from 26.5 grams to 20.5 grams, a 33% reduction in weight, and you are still able to maintain the same shelf life in the blend technology, or you could even get longer shelf life when you go towards a multi-layer technology. So one of the biggest concerns by brand owner is the presence of acetaldehyde, also known as AA, and formaldehyde, also known as FA. This can be found in bottles when using PET, which when stored at long durations will leach out into the water. We all know that formaldehyde is not good for the body. Likewise, acetaldehyde is also not good for the human body. So most people will question, why is AA and FA a concern for this beverage? This is because AA and FA can also cause a change in the taste. And by using a small dosage of MX Nylon, we would be able to achieve a 23% reduction in AA content, and FA is no longer detected, thereby keeping the taste of the beverage, and at the same time, ensuring that the health of the consumers are kept safe. Next, other applications, MX Nylon can also be used in film application. One of the growing trends in food processing is the use of retort process, where the product is actually packed and heated to 110 degrees for 30 minutes. Most packaging will have problem withstanding such high temperature, but this is not a problem with MX Nylon. Furthermore, after retort, other materials will have a drop in barrier property, whereas MX-D6 is stable. Therefore, you can see that the color of the tuna floss when packed in MX Nylon show little to no color change. Now, we will look at a favorite fruit in Thailand, which also happens to be one of my favorite, mangoes. Here, we have two different mangoes. We have the same mangoes which has gone through two different processes. I've gone through the same process, but packed in different packaging. Which mango would you choose? Personally, I would choose the mango at the bottom because it looks more like overripe mango, which happens to be very sweet as compared to the top, which looks like it has been cut and left in the open for a long time. Here, the mango goes through a boiling process to kill germs to to extend the shelf life. However, you notice that other barrier materials are unable to obtain the same color change as compared to packaging packed in mangoes packed in packaging containing MX nylon, because the other barrier materials will change. The properties will change once the packaging goes through higher temperature processing. So, I have been talking about food and beverages application, but can MX nylon also be used in other applications? Yes. MX nylon has also been used in other household and industrial chemical packaging. And one example is bleach. Usually, bleach is stored in HDPE bottles. However, recently, due to lightweight consideration, one of the customers was actually thinking of moving from HDPE bottles to PET bottles. However, during their trials, they found that 100% PET bottles is unable to store the bleach for more than 3 months due to its chemical resistance property. And you have found that the bottles actually crack and leaks out the bleach. Therefore, we have worked with the customer to enable them to switch from HDPE bottles to PET bottles through the use of MX nylon. The customers have found that using MX nylon, the PET bottles not only does not crack, it can be left in the shelf for up to 12 months with no damage at all. Other applications such as ink bottles and industrial pesticides where high solvent barriers is required can also be found in our customers that have tried our product. MX nylon has also been used to increase the stiffness of HDPE multi-layer EBM bottles, extrusion blown bottles. This has helped one of the customers resolve their paneling problem when using 100% nylon 6. And by blending a small percentage of MX nylon, they are able to increase the stiffness of the bottle, making the bottle more rigid. So, other applications such as personal care and chemicals, MX nylon has also shown better odor barrier as compared to other barrier films, and some of the common odors or some of the chemicals that is used for flavors are such as limonene, which is the fragrance of orange, and vanillin, which is the extract of vanilla beans. MX nylon has also obtained various food safety regulations for packaging, such as Japan, US, Europe, and China. So all this talk about MX nylon and what about the talk about sustainability? So this is now a big topic which is now being brought up by a lot of people. So now let's discuss about sustainability. Being a chemicals company, we endeavor to contribute to a sustainable society through materials development by enabling responsible consumption and supporting the climate control. Therefore, we are examining on areas where we can improve the recyclability of our materials, developing bio-based materials, and also using renewable energy and working on a mass balance approach. In view of the current sustainability discussions for recyclability, MGC, Mitsubishi Gas Chemical, has also joined the R+ Japan Consortium, who is facilitating the recycling of used plastics for a more sustainable society. In this recycling consortium, you will find various companies from various industries, ranging from chemicals companies such as ourselves, to film packaging manufacturers such as Toyowo, to brand owners such as Suntory are all inside this group. In most parts of the world, plastic waste are usually collected and incinerated in a waste-to-energy plant. However, R+ Japan is working with a company called Nalotech Inc. to develop a chemical recycling process where plastic products are actually converted back to the basic chemical feedstock, which can be later polymerized and made into a new plastic material. This new technology is expected to reduce the carbon dioxide emission and the amount of energy required, thus making it more environmentally friendly. There have been some good results in Nalotech, and they are planning to commercialize this technology by 2027 to help to solve the global challenges associated with plastic waste. Next, we would also like to inform that we have developed bio-based polyamide resin known as Lexter. This material has good oxygen barrier property similar to nylon 6, but this material enables companies to increase their biomass degree in their packaging and enabling the customers to move towards a lower percentage of petroleum-based products. So this is the sustainability roadmap of our company, where we are moving towards a sustainable society. So we work towards to reduce the greenhouse gas emission, reduce food loss by extending shelf life. Next, we are looking to reduce our carbon dioxide emission, and then we will move to support the recycled technology and the bio-based materials so as to push towards a renewable material and everybody towards a sustainable society. So thus, MX Nylon looks to increase the shelf life of the product, reduce food loss, increase food safety, and make it more sustainable for the world. Next, I will be talking about Maxif, a gas barrier adhesive resin that is specifically meant for flexible packaging. MX Nylon is a gas barrier adhesive resin that works to enable excellent gas barrier properties with vacuum metallized film. In the current world where mono-material packaging is a topic of interest, the biggest problem faced by such packaging is that it is difficult to achieve the same gas barrier properties as other complex or hybrid films that is achieved through lamination. So what MX Nylon strives to achieve is that in this example, we have found that through the use of MX Nylon, we are able to improve by more than 1,000 times, in oxygen barrier while keeping the same moisture barrier and the peel strength of the film. As you can see here, using the same thickness, when you compare towards your polyurethane-based adhesive, we are able to improve the OTR from 14.7 to 0.01, and the WVTR, which is the moisture transmission rate, which remains the same. And all these peel strengths are the same. So this has significantly reduced the oxygen transmission rate of this flexible film. Just like in the case of MX Nylon, we will also show the color of tuna packed in packaging using Maxif versus a polyurethane-based adhesive. You will notice that the color change of tuna is minimum as compared to the adhesive when not using Maxif. So therefore, Maxif works to enable high gas barrier properties in mono-material packaging, providing a solution for a more sustainable packaging. Finally, I have come to the last product that MGC would like to offer. This is known as Altesta, a heat-resistant polyester resin. What is Altesta? Altesta is an amorphous polyester which has high heat resistance of up to 100 degrees, above 100 degrees, and has high transparency. It is also compliant with various safety bodies globally. It is also compatible with other materials, making it easy to process with other materials such as PET, PETG, PBT, PC, and OPS. As you can see, the glass transition temperature of Altesta S and SN grade are both above 100 degrees C, and the light transmissions are all above 90 degrees. The main application for Altesta is in high temperature requirements, especially for glass replacement. One of the most common problems with PET is that bottles deform when a hot beverage is poured into it. However, when exposing Altesta bottles, as you can see over here, there is no change in the packaging as compared to a PET after pouring 70 degrees water in, it deforms, the shape warps, whereas when you pour in 100 degrees water in, the shape is kept at the same. So, because of its high light transmittance of above 90 degrees, a highly transparent container can be obtained. At the same time, it also offers UV blocking at under 360 nanometers, making it a suitable material for glass replacement. Like MX Nylon and Maxis, Altesta has also obtained various compliance for the safety. As you can see, MGC believes when a product is meant for food and beverage application, safety is on the top of our mind. With the talk of increasing rPET usage, recycled PET, Altesta is also able to be used with rPET, providing high resistance to 80 to 85 degrees. Thus, comparing to glass, Altesta also enables high temperature application without the disadvantage of heavy weight and brittleness that glass brings about. Currently, these are some of the glass replacement applications of Altesta. They can be found in heat-resistant glass, microwavable dishwashable packaging, and even for jelly containers that are co-extruded. With this, I have come to the end of our presentation. And over here, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us in the QR code shown on the bottom right. And if you have any more questions about the different materials, the QR code will also direct you to our website. But if you have any idea or any problems that you are facing and you would like to seek our advice, feel free to contact us when we will be happy to share our knowledge to be able to enable you for the various projects that you are working on or currently thinking of. Thank you very much. And I will pass the time back to Mr. Albert Lim and Kun Tima. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ryan. I think Informer will be running a poll now. We really would hope that the attendees can respond to the poll so that we would be able to contact you with regards to your requirements and your interests post-event. Please do help us to complete the poll. Following the poll, we will be going into the Q&A section. I think we do have some time, and I'm also very grateful to the number of attendees as well as the questions that we received pre-event and also during the event. We will try our best to respond to most of the questions. However, if we are able to respond to your questions during this live session, we will endeavor to respond to you via email or contact post-event. To be honest, I think in total we have received close to more than 50 questions. We will try our best to respond as best as we can. The focus of the Q&A session will be initially to respond to the questions that we have received live now during the Q&A. And after the Q&A questions, most of the questions, important critical questions are answered, we will move to other questions that we received pre-event. So let us begin. We have quite a number of questions during Q&A. So let us begin. I think there were some questions about the processing parameters, the temperature, melt temperatures. So I believe Miyabe-san has responded in the Q&A that the melt temperature is 237. But as the picture, the chart that Ryan showed during the PPT, the reason why MX Nylon is suitable for cold processing as a blend or even as a one of the layers in multi-layers together with PET or with the olefins or with blended into nylons is because the processing temperature range is quite wide. So it's suitable to be cold processed together with PET or other nylons like nylon 6, as well as the olefins in a certain higher temperature range. The other benefit that Ryan also mentioned is MX Nylon is unlike typical nylons where the hygroscopy is very high. So actually amongst the nylons available commercially in a commercial scale, MX Nylon is probably one of the lowest hygroscopy qualities in the market, which also means that it is very suitable to be co-processed. And this question is coming in the chat. But yes, it is actually suitable to be blended with PET or even other nylons to actually achieve a higher barrier property and better processability. And in our experience in Southeast Asia alone, we have also been able to increase the bottle integrity. As I think Ryan mentioned, there were some projects that does industrial chemicals. Actually, in Southeast Asia, we have also succeeded in industrial chemicals. We replaced certain products like Barracks a few years back when it was withdrawn from the market. We were able to replace those products that were using Barracks by a 10% MX nylon dose blend into a PET, and we replace applications like ink that is used in markers, bottles, and at the same time, we are working on also alternatives for industrial products for the insect-related problems, etc. So we are also have ongoing projects that is trying to commercialize those projects using the blends with olefins, etc. So the question is apt. MX Nylon, we are working on various blend solutions from PET to nylons to the olefins, where a simple blending, of course, it would be good if doses are used to control the dosage, because it will help in the distribution and the uniform barrier properties of the skin layers. And I think in the attendees list, we have the partners that we have from Matsui. So actually, we work with also the dosing systems. We actually have a lot of experience with various doses, where we are able to enable a simple application of MX nylon to be dosed into PET, to be dosed into nylon, and to be dosed to olefins, to create packaging, rigid packaging that is able to increase bottle integrity, increase barrier properties, and increase the shelf life of the products that's held inside, both for food and beverages as well as for industrial chemicals. And so next question that we have in the Q&A session from the Q&A box is, there were some questions on whether the slides can be provided. Yes, the slides can be provided if we are able to contact you post-event. We will send the relevant slides to you. And there was a question that is related to the answer that I gave just now. Is it possible to blend in the HDPE and PP? Yes, we are already trying out various products that is involved in the blending with the olefins. Next question is there any issues with direct contact of MX nylon with food or beverage? So actually, MX nylon, just like what Ryan showed for the other product that we showed, actually has a FDA CFR. And to be honest, FDA actually approves up to 20% of MX nylon in food contact. But in the practical applications for food and beverage, I think we are talking about dosages from 2 up to 10%. The average is 5 or 7. And next question, this is interesting. I think there's a big hoo-ha of the problem of bisphenol. So is there any bisphenol used in MX nylon? The answer is no. But at the same time, sadly, we are also the manufacturers of polycarbonate. Yep. And there was a question whereby it was asked whether MX nylon-based products, including films, etc., are they able to also go through a vacuum process? The answer is a simple yes. When you're able to use barrier packaging, and in Japan and in Southeast Asia, I think the definition is a bit different. In Southeast Asia, we will say that it has barrier properties as long as it is lower than 50 cc per meter square per day, and that would include PET film. But in Japan, we are talking about maybe 20 cc. So in Japan, the minimum for barrier film is maybe around below 20 cc per meter square per day. With the kind of barrier properties, when you are able to exert a vacuum, create a vacuum within the packaging headspace, the vacuum will hold for a longer time because the incursion of air back into the internal packaging volume will be slowed down because of the barrier properties of barrier materials like MX nylon. There's also a question about availability. So the production of MX nylon at the moment is actually in 2 locations. The resin itself is produced in Japan and in US. And the products like Maxif as well as Altesta is also produced in Japan, which also means actually it is readily available in East Asia as well as in Southeast Asia. And we have had applications, adoption of the technologies in mainly, we have successful trials in Thailand, actually quite a few years back. And we have successful adoption in Indonesia as well as in Malaysia. And we hope to finally have some adoption in Philippines, because some major brand owners are now considering the adoption of MX nylon in some of the packaging technologies in the Philippines. So yes, these products are available in Southeast Asian countries. We work either directly, depending on the registration of your plant, or via partners who are able to do stocking for you, right? And there are other questions that came. The other questions were, is 1.8% of MX nylon dosed or blended into, for example, PET, is it able to extend shelf life? And actually the answer is yes. Due to certain environmental pressures, there were initially a few years ago, there were some customers that only adopted maybe up to 2%. And 2% were still able to increase the shelf life of their products to quite a significant amount, like maybe 40%, right? So we still think that maybe 2% is a suitable number, but in general, we actually hope to achieve maybe 2.5 or at least 5% for actually the barrier properties to be improved significantly. And this is an interesting question. Is 1.8% enough? But if you saw from Ryan's presentation, if you're talking about putting MX nylon into mechanically recycled polyester, rPET, actually it's more than enough to absorb the leachables, right? The FA and the AA. For barrier improvement, actually we hope that the dosage can be higher. But I think Ryan mentioned that our MX nylon is actually qualified under different standards in Japan, in US, and also in Europe. At the moment, the highest dosage approved is 6% under certain structures of packaging. And MGC would also hope to increase the number. I want to state the issue. The properties of MX nylon, being an engineering polymer, when it goes through multiple heat processes, there is not much significant degradation to the diamine ring, the barrier properties. The challenge is actually a color shift. So if the consumer market is able to accept that mechanically recycle, this is a short-term solution. Short-term solutions using mechanical recycling, just crushing the bottles and flaking and then reuse. Definitely there will be some color shift, but the barrier properties and the mechanical properties of the MX nylon is actually not affected significantly. It will still perform. It's just the color shift occurs. We have come up with some solutions where we have overcome the color shift, and it's approved now, of course, in all the major markets. But at the same time, as Ryan mentioned, our approach is to actually go for a medium to long-term solution, which MGC believes is a rapid chemical recycling of the plastic waste back into feedstock, and using the recycled virgin feedstock to create new high-quality packaging materials again. So our approach is not a short-term solution. We are looking at a mid-term solution using pyrolysis chemical recycling. And we hope to commercialize all these new approaches to being sustainable and environmental responsibilities by 2027 with the group that we are joined in Japan. And I also would like to raise some information that is not actually put into the PowerPoint. So please also note that we are also an energy company in Japan. We are also involved in a lot of research into the creation of non-fossil feedstock into the other chemical downstream manufacturers, as well as the ability to actually draw energy from geothermal source. So all this helps us to also reduce our carbon footprint as an organization, and this of course can utilize to offset any potential carbon footprint that is created from the use of fossils. But again, one of the other things that we're doing other than all this is also to embark on non-food source, bio-sourced feedstock. And this is a very interesting method where feedstock from bio that would have gone to waste is now being able to be adopted into a high value product that actually performs even better than the fossil-based plastic product. And with that product, we are able to offset, using mass balance, to offset some of the fossil fuel carbon footprints that are used in the production of MX Nylon by blending it into the normal fossil-based MX Nylon. I will move on to, there's still a lot of questions coming in. I will try to answer a few more questions from Q&A. There were some questions about dried sundry products like turmeric powder. And I would actually like to highlight that this term was not used during the presentation, but I would like to highlight that all the technologies we shared with you today is actually something called passive barrier technologies. That means these products, they provide a blocking function to reduce the CO2 going out or the moisture going out, as well as to reduce the amount of CO2 coming in, O2 coming in, etc. These are actually what we call passive barrier technologies. But in conjunction with our barrier technologies, and we have a plant in Thailand, and we also have partners that produce this in Asia. Passive packaging barrier technologies can be used in conjunction with active barrier technologies, whereby the active, either in additives form or in a dropped-in sachet form, can be added in to the sealed packaging environment to take care of the oxygen and even at times the moisture that's available in the sealed packaging environment. And this allows for the reduction or the achievement of something that is not shown in the charts today. One of the key new objectives of packaging, especially for products like sundry goods, very highly oxidative, reactive foods and ingredients, as well as products. And we have a lot of questions, both in the pre-webinar questions as well as today. Participants asking us about milk, about dairy, about juices, about fruits. And Thailand is a major producer of fruits, so is Philippines. And I believe these two countries have a lot of participants in our webinar today. The good news is the solution is out. And actually, a lot of the major brand owners, it may not be domestic. In Thailand, it is actually the domestic ones. In Philippines, some of the major non-domestic brands, they are already looking at these new technologies where, one, the plastics itself that has MX Nylon inside is working with a partner of ours where the active scavenging of oxygen, the additives is added inside. So, and as well as the inclusion of, for dried sundry products, dried products or moist products, not wet, the addition of a product from MGC called Ageless, which is produced both in Japan and also, of course, in our factory in Thailand called Ageless Thailand. We are the market leader for drop-in oxygen absorber sachets in the world for food, pharma, etc. 70+% of the market. With all these technologies, the passive blocking and active absorption of oxygen and probably some other gases in the sealed packaging environment, you are able to achieve something called total packaging oxygen equals to 0. So we are no longer trying to reduce the amount of oxygen coming in. What we're trying to do is, with passive barrier, followed by the active ingredient or active scavenging sachet, you are able to reduce the total oxygen inside the packaging to 0. And oxygen being 21% of air, even if you don't do N2 flush, you will be able to achieve a 79% of N2 in the packaging itself, no more oxygen. And this extends the shelf life tremendously, especially for beverages or foods that have that are more sensitive to air. Yeah, and let's go to other questions pre-event that we received. There were a lot of questions on sustainability pre-event. So I hope the information from Ryan that Ryan shared in the last few slides, our approach as a company towards sustainability is now a lot clearer to our customers and our partners, as well as to the participants that have joined us today. It is a very confusing and challenging world in the world of sustainability, because the standards are actually still not out. Everybody is trying to find a certain standard, but MGC's focus is actually very simple. We want not an immediate offhand solution that responds to the market demand. We are working out, we already have solutions based on our packaging technologies, be it on the products that we have today, MX Nylon, Maxif, and our tester, where we are able to extend shelf life and reduce spoilage and waste by reducing the amount of carbon greenhouse gases that was wasted in producing the food, right? And that is not just an environmental issue, it's a cost issue. So a lot of the major global brand owners, eventually they rely on us to be able to help them to package their foods to sell, let's say from the sparkling waters of the Alps in Europe to Asia, using our barrier technologies, right? And all those bottles that you see now, the local manufacturers in Southeast Asia are also utilizing similar technologies in blend technologies. And you see all these bubbling liquids that are using our technologies already. They are there, but if you never understand the technologies, you will think it's just PET, but it is not. Actually, these technologies by the global brand owners are already in Southeast Asia. It reduces the need to use glass. It reduces the need to use metals solutions because, and this is an important point, because certain attendees kept asking about, what about carbon footprint? The truth is, to make or to recycle glass and metal products, packaging products, the temperatures that you have to achieve is incredible. For aluminum, it's in excess of 600 degrees. For glass, for steel, it is in excess of maybe 1,003 to 1,004 degrees. In terms of glass, it can go up to 4,000 to 7,000, depending on how much carbon or how stiff is the glass you're making. So you can imagine how much energy or greenhouse gas is created to create the first packaging that is based on alternative materials. And then if you're going to recycle them, and the trouble with the commercial food and beverage industry is there is no standardization of bottle design or packaging design. Everyone wants to be unique. And when there's a requirement for uniqueness in bottle design, which also means all these raw materials have to be crushed, re-smelted, and remade, then the amount of energy required, and the energy cannot be achieved by a simple off-the-grid power. They need to use high calorimetric coal in a lot of locations to create the kind of heat to produce the kind of longer lasting. But the problem is people don't recycle. They need to remake into new designs in a certain amount of time. And the other issue that we have for glass, for example, I shall not comment much because we are also involved in pharma packaging. It's actually glass is from sand. Sand, even if it's in the desert, at a certain point in time, it's actually from the sea. And there's always this problem of actually incursion, leaching. If you didn't know, actually most glass now, present glass, a lot of it is contaminated. And even cleaner glass, silica has a little issue with saline contamination. There's leaching of salt back into your food packaging, right? So this is a major problem in pharma. It is not raised in food, but it is a real problem. So I hope that answers the question of, is plastics better or the alternatives are better? The others are better only if you keep using the same thing. But the same thing needs to go for cleaning, and the cleaning process can be quite toxic. And for metals, if I'm sure the participants today are from the packaging industry, you also have to understand metal is never metal, because there is a layer of coating that needs to protect the metal from acidosis, etc., from reactions of with the contents of the food or the beverage. So it's never a simple single sheet or single layer of metal. So it's also quite complicated. I hope that answers certain questions about the comparison of how environmentally friendly plastics can be. Ryan mentioned that plastics in general, and this is a major problem, especially in South and Southeast Asia, we cannot imagine how the developing countries are able to provide products, processed products, or even fresh products, packaged fresh products to the majority of the populations if packaging in plastics is not used. Because the alternative is to actually use either the older material technologies or not to use at all. But the issue will be shelf life. So there's food safety issues that will be raised. But at the same time, the cost goes up if you're going to use traditional technologies for packaging, because those things are expensive based on glass or metal. And transport will cost more. Then the sizes you can't customize. You have to actually use, if you're going to carry something very heavy for a small volume of product, the total cost can go up significantly, as well as the cost cost from damage. Right? There are some other questions I would like to ask. I'd like to answer from the pre-event. So there are certain questions which are very relevant. So yes, MX nylon is able to reduce plastics weight, what we call in rigid packaging preform weight. If you're able to reduce the preform weight by not impacting the barrier property, then you're actually saving the amount of plastics each brand owner is using, which also means you are actually being more environmentally friendly, right? Alternatively, in an era of high energy costs and high inflation, which is what's happening now, where you would have heard yesterday and today, crude oil prices have gone back up to above $70 per barrel. And we foresee it will go further due to inflation. This would also mean the production cost for higher energy requirements for other non-plastics packaging materials will definitely go up because of the energy cost. Yeah. So we have instances in high energy cost periods like now, that actually the adoption of all these higher technology materials to be blended or to be made into part of a structure with PET or the olefins, whereby the end users actually are able, as an overall package, to save money. We do have the formulations to help end users that are here today to calculate whether you are going to dose significant amount of MX nylon into your existing packaging, to estimate the shelf life, and as well as to estimate certain cost savings that you might be able to achieve based on the present high energy cost, high feedstock or material cost environment. So do let us be able to contact you so that we can work out the sums with you. And the team in Singapore, together with the team in Japan, we have significant experience in dealing with the majors, enabling the commercialization and working with the partners of both the injection machines, the extruders, the dosers, etc., to enable the smooth commercialization of our products into their packaging in the Middle East, in South Asia, as well as in Southeast Asia. So do not hesitate. We are confident we can help you. Yeah. I've got to add other questions. And there were certain other questions as well. Is MX nylon able to have some biosource? As I mentioned, yes, MX nylon, we are going through a rethink. Ryan mentioned the MX nylon originally is fossil-based, and we have a new product called Exter. It is not new. It is a high-value product that we actually used into very high-value electronics products. But as we scale up, we are able to portion and consider adopting some of these very high-value products based on biosource, non-food source, to apply into packaging to reduce the total amount of reliance on fossil, right? We offset the amount of fossil fuel required to make the MS nylon by leveraging on non-food source, biosource feedstock. We also have certain persons from who have contacted us via the chat, where we were asked to contact them. We have actually, we are very grateful for the information from you. We have people contacting us in the chat from Indonesia as well as from Philippines. We will take note of your contact details, and we will contact you directly post-event. Yeah. So yeah, I think from my side for Q&A, that is it for the moment. I will pass the mic or the presenting over. Let me maybe ask some questions to my counterparts in Japan. Miyabe-san, Mukasa-san, and Toihara-san. そのいろんな質問に対して日本側から何か答えたいこと、情報を流したいことあります？
アルテスタは特にございません。
わかりました。はい、わかりました。まあ、向笠さん、MGC についてはどうですか？なんかありますか？質問、結構いっぱい質問から可能性あるんですか？
そうですね。マクシブ、個別に回答はしてるんですけど、
はい。
モノマテリアルパッケージに使用できる可能性のある接着剤なので、で、先ほどの、酸素バリアが 1cc を切るバリア性を発現できるというところをアピールできればと思いますので、そのあたりですかね。それを使ってくれる食品包装の用途があれば、ぜひお願いします。
So some information from Mukasa-san. So I think there's also some trends, especially when we are talking about very simple mechanical recycling, for a lot of the simple recycling companies to push for mono material. This was the trend a few years back, a very short-term solution. So if there are some interest in mono material, but the mono material is a high, low barrier olefin, for example. So Mukasa-san wants to state that Maxif can achieve, as a coating on olefin monomaterials, achieve a barrier property of less than 1 cc per meter square per day. This is a very interesting technology. We hope to support flexible or semi-rigid customers who are interested in adopting these coating technologies using Maxif. So please also contact us after the event, and we will get back to you on your requirements. Miyabe-san, 何かありますか？
はい、MX ナイロン軽量化で、はい、サステナブルなパッケージサポートしていきます。
Yeah, so I will restate. So MGC's stand is actually very simple. We already have products like MX Nylon that was created quite some time back. And the original purpose of MX Nylon into the blend bottles or the multi-layer bottles was maybe from 20 years ago to replace existing products based on glass or metal because of the issues with manufacturing those high energy materials, and at the same time reduce the weight of existing plastic materials, helping to lightweight the packaging and therefore at the same time also reduce plastics usage. And the most important part, I think, for South and Southeast Asia is the method of adoption. There are a lot of new technologies that are being promoted from US or from Europe. But a lot of these technologies are actually not commercialized. They are either in prototype or they are going to be commercialized. But the process of adopting it in existing systems is very challenging. I would like to state for certainty, the MX Nylon is a simple to adopt solution. In existing injection machines, all you need to do is have a doser, feed it into your cylinder when it's actually going into your tooling, and then you are able to achieve barrier bottles, right? It is a very simple and easier to adopt solution. And actually, this is the approach that we have for Southeast Asia. But at the same time, I'm also glad to inform that a lot of these higher value, multi-layer, rigid bottle technologies in terms of machinery are also now available in Southeast Asia and South Asia at much lower commercially viable prices. To be honest, those prices would have come down by maybe compared to 10 years ago. The machinery costs, even from the branded manufacturers now, easily have come down by more than 50%, 60%, even 70%. You'll be surprised. People will think all these technologies from Europe and US or Japan is crazy price. The truth is all this costing and all the research gone into scaling down and cost competitiveness has allowed a lot of the manufacturers that we work with to enable for smaller outfits and more cost competitive machinery costs will come. So if you don't want to change machines, MX Nylon can be used directly with the addition of a doser. And if you have slightly more capex to invest to create a clear, high barrier, long shelf life packaging bottle, for example, the cost for adopting those technologies have also crashed, especially in the last 2 years. And we will be able to recommend the partners for the machinery, as well as the method and the grades that you need from us to enable the successful adoption of MX Nylon, as well as products like Massive for coating, and also new materials like Altesta for clear, high barrier, high temperature polyester. And also our products from our other division, which are the active scavenging solutions to enable you to have low oxygen transmission rates, low moisture vapor transmission rates, low CO2 excursion rates, extended shelf life, and in some circumstances, MGC will be able for high value products. And of course, the trend is to go into beverages with our partners to enable the attendees and their organizations today to achieve something magical called total packaging oxygen is zero over a sustained period of time. And the magic will be a sustainability of the aromas, maintenance of the bright colors, as well as a longer or further reach of your products globally and not just in Southeast Asia. So I want to thank everyone again today. Before I pass it over to Informer, I want to, of course, thank the attendees, and we are very grateful today because we have quite a number of attendees, a few hundred, in fact, and tons of questions. I apologize that we can't answer all the questions now because actually we are already overrunning. We will get back to you individually, but we also hope that you will contact us individually, either in Singapore or in Thailand or in Japan. And we will support you fully. I want to state again, our team is significantly experienced in the adoption of passive as well as active packaging materials and technologies. We will support you together with our partners. I want to thank everyone, including our colleagues from Japan, as well as Informer for helping us to arrange this gathering and sharing of information. And I hope the information shared by Ryan and the Q&A sessions that we had is informative to you. And I will pass the time to Ryan, and after that, we will pass it over to Informer. Ryan, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining us in this webinar. Like Mr. Albert has mentioned, we have a lot of questions coming in and we are trying to address and trying to answer everybody. But as per what we have explained, some of the questions actually go through a different requirements, and we will need to speak to you directly after the webinar so as to understand your requirements to be able to provide you a better solution. So we seek your kind understanding that we will get back to you after the webinars. Please give us some time and we will contact you, or you can contact us so as to be faster, and we will address your queries at a later time. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, colleagues from Japan and also Informa Markets for the support on this webinar and all the webinars for joining. I will hand over the time to Informa Kun Demands. Thank you very much.
Thank you คุณ Ryan and คุณ Albert นะคะค่ะและในนามของผู้จัดงาน ProPak Asia Informa Market นะคะและบริษัท Mitsubishi Gas Chemical Singapore นะคะขอขอบคุณท่านวิทยากรและผู้เข้าร่วมฟังสัมมนาทุกท่านนะคะทางคณะผู้จัดนะคะก็หวังเป็นอย่างยิ่งว่าท่านจะได้รับประโยชน์ท่านจะได้รับข้อมูลที่เป็นประโยชน์เพื่อการพัฒนาบรรจุภัณฑ์ของท่านควบคู่ไปกับการรักษาสิ่งแวดล้อมนะคะและก่อนการจบสัมมนาในวันนี้นะคะดิฉันอยากจะขอเรียนเชิญทุกท่านนะคะเข้าร่วมงาน ProPak Asia Virtual Event นะคะที่จะจัดขึ้นในวันที่9ถึง23มิถุนายนนี้นะคะก็เป็นพรุ่งนี้แล้วนะคะทางแพลตฟอร์มออนไลน์ที่ www.propakasia.com/ve นะคะท่านจะได้พบกับกิจกรรมที่น่าสนใจมากมายอาทิเช่นการจับคู่ทางธุรกิจนะคะซึ่งท่านจะสามารถ connect กับผู้ประกอบการได้แบบ real time นะคะเจรจาธุรกิจกันแบบ exclusive และค้นหาสินค้าได้มากกว่า1,000 รายการนะคะจาก Digital Showroom และยิ่งไปกว่านั้นนะคะทางเรามีสัมมนาออนไลน์ในหัวข้อที่น่าสนใจอีกมากมายให้ท่านได้เข้าชมกันนะคะ On behalf of the organizer of ProPak Asia Informa Market and Mitsubishi Gas Chemical Singapore, we would like to thank you to all attendees and speakers for a great session today. Before closing today, I would like to invite all of you to attend at ProPak Asia virtual event in the period of 9 to 23rd June at propakasia.com/ve. The highlight will be business matching, real-time live chat with exhibitor, one-to-one exclusive video call, and over 1,000 products from digital showroom, and much more interesting webinars. See you in our ProPak Asia virtual event แล้วพบกันที่งาน ProPak Asia virtual event นะคะสำหรับวันนี้สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
Thank
thank
you
you thank you
Thank you. Thank you, Kun Titima. Thank you.
thank you คุณ Albert see you next time
See you next time.
bye
Thank you so much.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Thank you, Koyohara-san and Mukasa-san. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert and Ryan-san.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
thank you everyone